Welcome to Bona Fide HPP, a podcast designed to educate and support the patients and caregivers of those affected by hypophosphatasia. As a mother and caregiver, host Deborah Fowler has discussions about this rare genetic bone disease with people from around the world. Join Deborah now as she speaks with this week's guest.
Hi, it's Denise Goodbar, Executive Director of Softbones, sitting in for Deb Fowler. Today's guest is Larry Bauer, Senior Regulatory Drug Expert at Hyman, Phelps & McNamara, which is the largest dedicated FDA law firm in the United States. Larry has been working with us since last year, preparing for this coming Tuesday, November 15th, when we will host our externally led patient-focused drug development meeting, or what we call our ELPFDD. It's surely a mouthful. Thanks for joining us, Larry. And maybe today you can help educate our patients about what an ELPFDD is and why it's important.
Yeah, thanks, Denise. It's great to be here with you all today. It's been a pleasure to have been working with Softbones over the last months, preparing this meeting. As Denise mentioned, it's got a long name. It's an externally led patient-focused drug development meeting. So to break that down, let me first talk about what is patient-focused drug development. So this was an initiative that was started by the FDA back around 2012. The staff at the FDA, they review all new drug applications for any new drug that's going to be developed. And as they did this, they realized that there was an important voice that was missing. The only people that they heard from were physicians, the drug companies, people at universities, professors, but the one voice that was missing from the table was the patients and caregivers. And these were the people that were going to end up using these products, and yet we weren't, consulting with them to find out what was important to them. So the FDA, in an effort to try to better and systematically incorporate the patient voice into drug development, they tried an experiment. They held a meeting called a patient-focused drug development meeting, which was a several hours long meeting where they met with groups of patients and caregivers and asked them questions. Some of the questions they asked were, what are the symptoms that you experience with your disease? How do those symptoms impact your lives? And of all the symptoms, which ones impact your life the most? They wanted to hear about the treatments. What are you currently doing to try to help treat your disease? How well do those treatments work? Are there side effects? Are there issues with the way that you take that drug or treatment? And what are you doing besides using drugs? Some people use physical therapy, acupuncture, cannabis, all different kinds of things to try to help treat their condition. They also wanted to know if there was a new product that was going to be developed in the future, what symptom would you like to see treated? What would be most important to you? And would you be willing to participate in a research study? Why or why not? What would you want to know about the research study and about a new drug before you signed up for that study? And how much risk would you be willing to take? So if there were certain risks that were known about a new drug, would you be willing to try this new drug even though it had these potential risks? Where do you draw the line in the sand? Because it's going to be the patients that are making that decision about whether to participate or not. And research can never get done unless we have people that are willing to participate in research studies. So the FDA, they did actually about 26 of these meetings over time, on some for common diseases, some for rare diseases. And at the end of each meeting, they wrote up the meeting into a paper called the Voice of the Patient Report. These reports made them available in the public domain, but the FDA staff, when they were reviewing new drugs for these diseases, they would always go back to that Voice of the Patient report to try to remember, what did patients say? What did their caregivers say? What did we learn from them? And they let that influence their decision-making when they were looking at new drug development. So after doing 26 of these meetings, they realized they can't keep doing this for every disease, especially for rare diseases. There's over 7,000 rare diseases. So they turned the process over to patient advocacy organizations. And that's why they're called externally led patient-focused drug development meetings because they're external to the FDA. So the FDA has helped us to set up this meeting. We have followed the design that the FDA used, so it's very similar to the meetings that they held, but it is not an FDA meeting. This meeting is specifically sponsored by Softbones, and they are responsible for it and responsible for the outcomes of the meeting.
Thank you, Larry. That was an excellent explanation. This is not just for patients based in the United States, right?
That's absolutely right, Denise. We would like people to participate from all over the world, from the United States, Canada, even further away, Europe, South America, Asia, wherever people are affected by HPP, we would like them to try to participate in this meeting. The FDA has given us very clear guidance that they want to hear from people from all over the world to learn from their experiences.
That's terrific. How do patients get involved?
Okay, so on the day, if you go to register for the meeting in advance, you can go to the Softbones web page, and you'll see a link, where you can sign up for the EL-PFDD meeting. You can also just come in on the day of the meeting. So next Tuesday, you could join us at 10 a.m. and just go to the webpage, and there'll be a way to just sign into the meeting on the day of the meeting. Once you're at the meeting, everybody will be in listening mode, but there'll be a few places in the meeting where we want patients and caregivers to participate. One of these ways is through polling. We use a system called Poll Everywhere that people will be given instructions how to, you just use your cell phone to log in to Poll Everywhere. And then polling questions will come up, and you'll answer the polling questions in real time. And when we're at the meeting, we'll be able to see how people are responding to those questions in real time. After we do polling, we're going to hear from a group of panelists, and after that, there'll be a period of time for discussion. During the discussion period, we are going to ask patients and caregivers to call in, to share their stories. So at the top of your screen during the meeting, there will be a telephone number where you can call in. Once you call in, you'll be put into a queue. There'll be an operator that answers the call, and you can tell them what it is that you'd like to talk about. And you'll be put into a queue, and we'll try to, talk to as many people as possible on the day of the meeting. But while you're in the queue, don't worry, you'll still be able to hear the meeting going on. So you won't miss anything by calling in. Another opportunity is to write in. There'll be an email address where you can send in written comments. You can send in written comments in advance of the meeting when you go to the Softbones webpage, and you can send them in during the meeting, and then for 30 days after the meeting, we will still accept written comments. So if something comes to mind that didn't come up during the meeting, we can still incorporate that feedback. We really hope that people will call in. We like to try to have live conversations with as many of you as possible so that we can hear your stories and have a conversation with you.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us, Larry, and thank you for all the support you and your team have provided over the past year. It's been a lot, and we really appreciate it. We look forward to Tuesday. And for those of you who haven't registered, as Larry guided, go to www.softbones.org, and on the homepage, click on the EL-PFDD banner at the top of the page. We look forward to hearing from you all and listening to you sharing your stories on Tuesday, November 15th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. If you have any questions, please email us at pfdd@softbones.org. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Bonafide HPP. I'm Denise Goodbar, filling in for Deborah Fowler. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Join Deborah and other patients on HPP and Me, where they continue discussing questions around hypophosphatasia and submit questions for the next podcast. Go to softbones.org and click on Community, then HPP and Me for instructions on how to sign up. This podcast and the intro music was produced and edited by me, Patrick Jaguar.